Hello, my dear friends all over the world. This is Maxine Taylor, Vice President of the American Federation of Astrologers. And I am here today. It is my honor to be here today with the speakers at the AFA conference on medical astrology. Some of your ears perked up. I know they did because you want to know about medical astrology. The conference is going to be in Tempe, Arizona, October 4th through 6th. For more information, just go to astrologers.com. That's it. That's the AFA's website. It's on that page, and I look forward to seeing you in October. So, our first guest, my first guest, is Diane Kramer. She is a Master of Science. She is an NCGR Level 4 and a consulting astrologer, lecturer, and teacher in all aspects of astrology in New York City. She's the author of 4 books on medical astrology and articles in various journals. Diane is a member of the education faculty of the NCGR in New York City, as well as being on the board of examiners for the NCGR, and is also the treasurer of the Uranian Society. And that's just the tip of the iceberg of her credentials. So, Diane, tell us what you're going to be talking about at the American Federation of Astrologers Conference.
I'm going to hopefully share my excitement about medical astrology, because I didn't even know about medical astrology. I started studying in the 70s, and then in the 80s, I saw a book in San Francisco on medical astrology. I went, wow, it's amazing how few people know about it. And so this will be a great way for people to understand it. And I'm going to be starting with the planets and how the planets are different in medical astrology than, we'll say, natal astrology, because there are definitely differences and different rules in medical astrology. So I'll be talking about the planets. I'll be talking about Mars and Saturn, 2 important points in the chart, and how they affect your body. And I'll have a lecture on dementia, which will have a lot of examples of people who had, different forms of dementia, Alzheimer's, and other diseases, with plenty of examples and all of the significators. One important thing about astrology is having astrological significators. So you can see, does this chart have this? Does this chart have this? And we'll go through what you're looking for in a chart for this specific topic, which is dementia, but it could be for any topic. There are astrological significators. So hopefully you'll understand how the planets are different, and not that they're different, how they work in the body, as opposed to just, your personality, your love life, your vocational life. So you'll be seeing the difference. So I guess that's basically what I'll be doing and sharing my excitement about it.
I can feel your excitement about it. And of course, I'm going to be there, and I can't wait to hear what you've got to say. By the way, at the American Federation of Astrologers, we don't have 5 workshops going at once. We sit there as a group, and you get to know people that way. And you don't have to make a decision between 2 fabulous speakers. I mean, you will be there. It's wonderful. Thanks, Diane. I'll be looking for you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is a dear friend of mine, Catherine Silverton. Catherine holds a master's degree in psychology. She is professionally certified by the American Federation of Astrologers and serves on its board and the board of the Metropolitan Atlanta Astrological Society. I'm one of the founders of that Atlanta group, so you understand the connection between us. She teaches intermediate to advanced levels of astrology, including the math of casting charts for certification. and practices as an astrological counselor. Catherine, honey, take it away.
Thanks so much, Maxine. It's so good to meet all of you people that I haven't met before. Um, the way that I stumbled into medical astrology was very, very early on in my studies. I want to say probably within the first few months. And I read a quote that was attributed to Hippocrates. And I believe it's accurate, maybe not verbatim, but the gist of the quote was, any person who calls himself a doctor and has no knowledge of astrology has no right to call themselves a doctor. And that just, I was flabbergasted by that comment, and I had no clue how that the two were related. But it was so early on in my studies that I knew I couldn't touch that with the 10-foot pole until I had a lot more background in astrology and the basics of astrology. So I want to say probably maybe 10 years after I was studying, I veered into the medical astrology field. I actually thought about going into naturopathic medicine and then realized I probably couldn't look at somebody's chart and just focus on the medical side of it. So, so I just started studying the medical side and just found it to be absolutely fascinating. So what I will be focusing on is in the first lecture, I'll be talking about the correlation of the signs of the zodiac and the parts of the body. And of course, a little bit of the personality, but in terms of how to use the personality, the positive sides of it to integrate with good health. And then my second lecture is going to be on surgery timing. I've done a lot of that over the years. So these will be examples of people who have had to have primarily elective surgery. And what the clients do is they give me dates that are possibilities that when the surgeon is available. And then I narrow down the dates and find the one that looks the most promising. So I will be presenting examples. I use a quad wheel. I use the natal chart overlaid with the secondary progressions, the solar arcs, and then the transits. So that's what I'll be working on, and I'm looking forward to presenting.
Oh, and I'm looking forward to hearing you.
Thank you.
This is going to be so wonderful. I mean, I'm like a kid in a candy store, just being with these beautiful people. Okay. Oh, Dr. William Morris. Will Morris is the author of Cycles and Medical Astrology. His clinical doctorate is in Chinese medicine. I love Chinese medicine. And he has a PhD in transformative inquiry, which he uses to excavate and cultivate practical methods of medical astrology. He uses Renaissance, Uranian, and Vedic astrology with sound healing, homeopathy, radionics, and herbs. Will, please tell us what you're going to share.
Maxine, thanks for having me. It's good to be with this team. It's very exciting. I'm thrilled. My engagement with this whole process happened in my early 20s, and I was on the road playing music and encountered, of course, Dane Rudger's work, but the interest in the intersectionality between sound, vibratory frequencies, health, the presencing of the human being in this world and the realization of their purpose was an abiding theme for me. And so when we talk about medical astrology, we're at the intersection between medicine and astrology. And so I like to situate that whole conversation. So for me, if as a practitioner, if I'm looking at lab work, well, at the same level of view, I have the idea of the astrological chart as an important sign or set of signs. And the practice of medicine is dealing with signs and symptoms, right? So, and that's common to all forms of medicine, the location and the process of a health concern. And the astrological chart fills in that cosmological feature. If we're talking about a whole system of a human being in an environment with other people and in a world in which they live, it becomes impossible to understand what's taking place with that person without also understanding what's taking place meteorologically, as Aristotle would put it. And so here we are. I'm very excited to speak about what I call anatomizing the sky. And that is, it is, and different cultures do it differently. Like, for instance, in China, the 12 houses are coherent with the 12 meridian systems. So this becomes a view. And then coming up out of India, there's what I call draconic anatomy. And that's an amazing basis for health considerations when there's an inaccurate birth time.
My goodness, I will be on the front row when you talk. I will be elbowing somebody out of the way. I can't wait to hear what you've got, the details of that. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you for stopping me.
Well, you know what it shows? Your passion. I mean, we are not robots. And what you have to share for many people is new. And this is what they've been waiting for from all of you guys. No pressure. Moving right along. Kathy Allen, dear friend. And this is in the first person singular. So I'm putting them in her words. I was a long time skeptic of astrology. After my astronomy professor said astrology was bunk because astrologers didn't know about precession of the equinox. Not true. When I was first introduced to astrology by a shaman in early 2002, God, I just love that. It blew my mind. I had to know everything about it. I'm still learning. Oh my gosh, beautiful. I'm still learning. I've taught classes, written for the Mountain Astrologer, and have written 2 books. I have a PhD in, get ready, molecular toxicology. And I like practical astrology that is consistent and reliable. Please tell us what you're going to be talking about, honey.
Well, thank you, Maxine. And I too am very happy to be on this team. So I'll be giving 2 lectures, and one is on medical midpoints. And this is based on Eberton's work in the dial, but I'll also talk about it in the chart. And there's different combinations of planets. There's maybe about 10 different combinations that you see over and over again arising during health crises. And they're related to specific types of health problems. So we'll look at that and then see when those patterns are activated is when the disease can manifest. And so that is the first talk. And the second one is on medical horary. I studied with John Frawley, and he uses traditional techniques based on Lilly with a few changes. And we'll just look at basic questions that everybody has at different times, like, is this a good doctor? Do I need this medical treatment? Is this medicine going to help? So basic questions that can be seen in the horary chart and answered quickly and easily and correctly. So,
Oh, wonderful. Gosh, it's good to see you again.
and you too, Maxine.
Oh, that was marvelous. Okay. And last but not least, Lynn Coiner. Lynn Coiner has been a full-time professional astrologer since June 1969 and a professional life member of the American Federation of Astrologers. Lynn was sponsored for membership in January 1968 by Ernie Grant, one of the founders of the AFA, who was her mentor in the early years. Lynn teaches medical professional curriculum for certification for the International Academy of Astrology. Darling, please tell us what you're going to be talking about.
Well, I have two talks. The one that I want to focus on, which is kind of my passion, is ADD, ADHD, and autism spectrum. Their medical scientists or researchers have categorized. First, there were 6 types. So I researched each type, and I do have charts for most of these types. Recently, they've added a 7th type, which I will discuss. It's the high anxiety and tension type of ADD, where there's so much stress that they can't focus. And autism spectrum, there's been a lot of research, and there was a breakthrough in Finland of how women taking a probiotic during gestation period and nurture and breastfeeding, there was not one incidence of ADD, ADHD, or autism spectrum, where the normal is about 17%. They had 1,700 women who were participating in this. So I want to focus on these issues in general. And one of the things I do, because I'm old and I do things the old way, is instead of an overhead, I give handouts. I just whisk things out on my printer, and I have handouts to give everybody, so all the charts, they can hold on to these and look at them as I'm talking about these different disorders. But that's my real theme. And I know that doctors, I based a lot of this on Dr. Daniel Ammon's initial research, but other doctors have contributed, and that's why we get the type 7. But it's important to know what astrological signatures are for these typings. And there have been some, I'm not going to say remedies or cures, but maybe some supports that sort of help some of these people. Sometimes it's very difficult, but there are some types of supports that go for these individuals. The other lecture will be outer planet transits and the impact on one's health. And sometimes, I will just say my background with medical astrology has been because, as you know, there were no medical astrology books in 1966 or 1967. And so my focus was the psychological patterns of disease. I've researched so many diseases and found a psychological pattern. So that's really what my basis was. And if you correct the psychological pattern, it can bring about a certain, with dietary changes and so forth, it can bring about a remission of those health issues. So that was basically my background starting out, and then writing to the government saying I was a medical research company. Could you send me your research? And I got really a lot of good stuff. So that's going to be my focus, the outer planet transits and how they will impact your health, and things you can do to kind of support your body during these outer planet transits. And then also the one that's my passion is on the astrological signatures of ADD, ADHD, and autism spectrum.
It is going to be dynamite.
Well, I'm just going to jump in and add something. My inspiration for medical astrology was Catherine Grant. because myself and all of my friends who would visit her, she would say, this is what your health weakness is going to be. And if you do this and take this and do these other things, that's not going to be a problem. And I said, that was such an inspiration to kind of tell people, well, this is what your health weakness may be. But if you do this, I will tell you, one of them was a number of people, she said, are going to have liver problems. Well, it took many years to figure out what the common astrological signature was. And it was planets in the fifth house. The fifth house rules the function of the liver. And she told them at that time to take the homeopathic Chionanthus. I know one person didn't do that and she had liver problems. Yet another astrologer said, oh, I took Chionanthus for years and I've got a great liver. So I thought, to be able to tell people what to do to kind of support your body, whether it's during a transit or the things in your natal chart, I thought that was wonderful. That was my real inspiration, was Catherine Grant.
Thank you for sharing this information. Now, you've whet my appetite. So I'm very excited. As you can tell, I'm excited to meet all these incredible people. Their credentials, as you can see, are impeccable. So I invite you to join us on let me get the date right because I don't want to mess it up. October 4th through 6th in Tempe, Arizona. And the website, in case you want to check it out and sign up now, is astrologers.com. So till October, when we meet again, this is Maxine Taylor saying, may the stars shine brightly on you and yours. Bye for now.